Hello the internet, my name is Andy.
And I'm Andy's computer, but you can call me Red.
With the Master Chief Collection finally coming to PC, it begs the question, what's it like to play Halo 2's campaign 15 years later? Halo, the first video game series I ever truly cared about. The flagship of the Xbox and Xbox 360 consoles.
The games that guaranteed your lack of social life for years.
When I first watched the trailer for Halo 2, it was actually a bonus feature shipped with the official soundtrack for Halo 1. Yes, I listened to a CD of Halo music as a kid. I liked it that much.
Your point being?
That I'm excited to be working on videos about the beloved sci-fi series all these years later. If all goes to plan, I'll be doing videos on all of the mainline Halo games to varying degrees.
Which means you're going to absolutely rip Halo 5 apart someday.
Spoilers, Red, spoilers. I may be kinder to some entries. But in these videos, I plan to look at these games and how they've aged based on their visuals, audio design, gameplay, and story. Let's get into this. Graphics are up first. In 2004, Halo 2 was a damn fine-looking console game. Halo 1 had been a commercial hit, and Microsoft probably wrote Bungie something close to a blank check to ensure the quality of the sequel.
Really? Because these graphics look like someone vomited on a Microsoft Paint document and then shipped it as a video game.
I don't think that's entirely fair given that Halo 2 started development roughly 18 years ago, Red.
Did you really sit down and look at this while replaying it in 2019?
No, I didn't have to. You see, back in 2014, Microsoft and developer 343 Industries gave fans a nifty treat, Halo 2 Anniversary, a full remaster of the playable campaign, as well as a highly cinematic shot-for-shot remake of every single cutscene in the first game.
So you're saying that it's the best looking game ever?
That would be hyperbolic, Red, so no, not exactly. When the remaster came out in 2014, it was the best looking version of any Halo campaign seen to date. Compared with the original version of Halo 2, it obviously had improved visuals across the board. Textures, shadows, particle effects, you name it. 343 deserves some credit for leaving no stone unturned in this update, and it's a mostly faithful recreation of an old vision. Most importantly, it shows how strong Bungie's original art direction holds up.
343 has faced criticism from Halo fans,
myself included,
for their changes to the original trilogy's art style.
That's true. For the most part, they left things alone here and merely updated what Bungie originally created. It's a testament to the strength of one of the pillars of what made Halo so successful. Video game visuals are a snapshot of technological power at a point in time. They're bound to become outdated. But good, consistent art direction creates memorable imagery and ideas that are timeless.
Whoa, getting pretty sentimental over pixels, aren't you?
I guess you could say that, but some games withstand the test of time, and I think Halo games largely do. Truthfully, some scenes really do benefit from the update here. During one mission, you watch a ship crash into some mountains. I never realized that you later fought through the crashed ship. I had always thought it was just a burning building. That's one of several areas where the update helps to communicate the cinematic events of the campaign. There are also moments of visual storytelling featured during gameplay, which I wasn't accustomed to seeing in games in 2004.
Slip space rupture. It's in amber clad.
Big lad, all your toil, all your sacrifice is near at hand.
That said, it's a perfect time to point out that the remastered cinematic scenes in Halo 2 Anniversary are spectacular. While the originals certainly look dated, I'm not exaggerating when I say that this is how it felt to watch the original play out back in 2004. The remastered version is like a love letter to anyone who experienced and enjoyed Halo 2's story.
So it doesn't look like a game that came out nearly 5 years ago?
Well, the cinematics are still the best produced Halo cutscenes to date, but it's pretty easy in 2019 to look at gameplay segments of Halo 2 Anniversary and think, yeah, this is a game that was remastered a few years ago. It doesn't look bad, but it certainly can't be considered cutting edge anymore. While there are certainly beautiful moments, some locations definitely aren't as impressive as they once were, even with the remaster. I mean, maybe I'm spoiled, but these are just trees in a small valley.
You always bring me to such nice places.
Also, a few moments haven't aged well, and no graphical update could save them from being ridiculous.
So in other words, it all looks like hot garbage.
That's not the case either. Like I said, graphics are attached to their age, always, sure. But it's still a modern revisualization of an art style that holds up well. and it's all punctuated by a seamless ability to instantly switch between the original and remastered versions with the touch of a button. This really gives perspective to what Bungie originally envisioned, and I found myself frequently toggling between versions. Switching back and forth between the original and remastered versions reveals a complete modernization of Halo 2's audio suite as well. I'm no audio engineer, so there's a lot here that I won't be able to detail, but here's the simple version. The Anniversary Edition improves an array of sound effects and music that made it into the original game.
Some sounds definitely did receive an upgrade.
That's right, there are also plenty of moments that show how good this game has always been at building atmosphere. The voice acting also served its purpose with dialogue intended to establish characters' personalities, especially those stoic lines given to the Master Chief.
Not on your own.
Sir, permission to leave the station.
For what purpose, Master Chief?
To give the Covenant back their bomb.
Permission granted.
But what's always stood out about Halo and what continues to stand out here are those fantastic compositions by Martin O'Donnell. Halo has always had a very distinct musical style to it, heavily focused on monk-like chanting and orchestral pieces. Each new game continued the themes of the earlier ones and usually added some new evolution of that same style to punctuate their respective soundtracks as their own. The impact of the music in Halo goes far beyond a little flair in the cinematics. I mean, just listen to this.
If I were capable of nostalgia, this might bring a tear to my graphics card.
There are also so many great moments where the music is used to emphasize how Bungie wanted you to feel during gameplay. This soundtrack had the capacity to be equal parts epic, somber, and stress-inducing, which helped carry the action at all parts of the experience.
But Andy, what about all of those cheesy guitar riffs?
Now, to each their own, Red. It's possibly a sign of the times in which this game was produced. I'm sure some people still like those moments, but in retrospect I do find them a bit cheesy as well.
Whoa, we actually agree on something. Should I just shut myself off now?
Please don't, this is pretty lonely work as it is. So this is an area in which the more recent Halo games have struggled with consistency.
Oh, so you mean everything?
No, not everything, but the gameplay in the original Halos was a simple concept that was made replayable in a direct yet sometimes elaborate sandbox.
What does that even mean?
What it means is that Halo had a traditional campaign structure in its day. Missions usually went cinematic, long gameplay segments, cinematic, repeat. This can accurately be described as a linear campaign structure.
Doesn't linear always mean bad?
Some people might say that, but I'd argue against that point. A linear point A to point B structure can be fun and rewarding with the right balance of things. Give the player a clearly defined goal, fun locations to traverse, and exciting tools to use, and you have an experience that's tailored to be fun. If you have a satisfying gameplay loop, a semi-predictable routine that can be played out without becoming tiresome, it feels rewarding when you finish something and become better at future encounters.
And let me guess.
The early Halo games had a formula which Bungie impressed audiences with on the first go-around.
And in each sequel they tried to add something meaningful to evolve that concept without removing the core experience.
Right.
I hate you.
In Halo 2 we had what any good sequel should add. More weapons, more vehicles, and areas which were fun to play through. That last one may be the most important. The level design is mostly so enjoyable if you have an understanding of how your tools work and how to traverse these environments.
Mostly?
Well, don't get me wrong, there were some points of the campaign I wasn't thrilled to revisit. Some levels are longer than others and can feel grueling, possibly even tiresome to grind through. I also think this remains the most difficult Halo campaign to date.
Some encounters in this game will hand you your own ass on a silver platter time and time again, until you learn a valuable lesson about shooting faster than you're being shot.
That said, yes, your options and engagements are fundamentally limited, but most areas of the game are built to facilitate fun, intense moments. You usually have some room to experiment and find your preferred approach. My favorite example is this courtyard in the middle of New Mombasa. Fairly unassuming at first, it's soon filled with numerous waves of Covenant infantry. During these fights, you would utilize most of the spaces at one point or another. You're not confined to any one style of play, within reason. I also want to talk briefly about the non-player characters in this game. First, your enemies. The Covenant continue being fun adversaries to this day. They know the environment, try to adapt to your actions, and each of the different races maintain unique behaviors and roles. This is a refinement of what Halo 1 established.
Unless you're going up against those damned sniper jackals.
Yeah, those are probably my least favorite part of Halo 2 to this day.
Seriously, these little bastards do nothing to telegraph their presence. But if you don't notice them or miss a single shot, bam. You're dead. Have fun respawning.
Yeah, Red, they're pretty terrible. Can we just feel lucky that they aren't ever this bad in any other Halo game after this?
Luck is a human idea, so no, we cannot.
Well, while Red drinks itself into computer hell,
I heard that.
Let's move on to the Flood. I had never realized this before my 2019 playthrough, but this may be the best rendition of the Flood we've had to date from a gameplay perspective. The Flood in this game are a relentless threat, and they're extremely intimidating during frantic firefights. They'll push you around, constantly keeping the player on their heels during moments which test your aim and patience. I found myself emptying the reserves on most guns and falling back on whatever weaponry I could find.
Even the garbage weapons?
Even the garbage weapons. The Flood are fantastic to combat in a masochistic sort of way. Now, the human NPCs in Halo 2 were pretty—
No, you know what? I'm going to stop you right there.
Red?
No, they are useless. These stupid humans are more prone to death by pure stupidity than you are by steering the Master Chief off of a bridge. They're garbage.
Now wait just a second.
Exhibit A.
That's not always—
Exhibit B. Shall we watch more?
You know what? No.
No?
Nope, you proved your point. I agree. Can we move on now? Because I'd like to talk about the most significant change introduced in Halo 2, that you spend roughly half of the game playing as a Covenant soldier. Playing as an alien was a surprising change-up which made more sense over time. Really, all it added to gameplay was the ability to briefly cloak yourself from enemies, and you could fight alongside other Covenant instead of,
muttering them.
Right. This is ultimately more interesting from a plot perspective than it is for gameplay, but I'll have more on that soon. What I'm looking at in regards to plot is whether Halo 2's narrative remains engaging and if it serves a purpose to the rest of the series.
Why bother with all of that?
Well, simply put, storytelling in games has evolved drastically since 2004. To preface this for my fellow nerds, I'm pretty well versed on Halo's extended lore, but we're only going to be looking at the plot from the games, as the majority of people experiencing Halo's story will only have these campaigns for context.
Just be prepared for him to explain this like you're 5.
What Red is trying to say is that things are going to be a bit oversimplified for Halo veterans, but hear me out. The gameplay and cinematic events of the original Halo trilogy have become sacred lore in the Halo community. So much so that a Bungie-produced spin-off, ODST, took place around one of the most climactic events of Halo 2's campaign. So I think it's somewhat amazing to know now how radically different the narrative for Halo 2 was originally going to be. When Halo 3 came out, it featured a developer commentary partly detailing what had originally been different. I recently rewatched it on YouTube.
Because he's forgetful, I'll share the link in the description for you.
Thanks, Red. The devs covered Halos 1 and 2 in this, and any fan of the series is sure to enjoy what the project leads had to say. I'm an absolute sucker for video games with good stories. I definitely want to cover the events of Halo 2 in more detail in the future. The Covenant invasion of Earth, the real reason why the Covenant want to eradicate humanity, etc. But that's not why we're here today. Check back in the future for more on that.
What a subtle sales pitch.
I used to think that Halo 2 had the weakest plot of the entire franchise. But now I know that it actually accomplishes some things which I disregarded when I was younger. Let's hit the rewind button for a minute. See, I played Halo 1's campaign an absurd number of times as a kid.
Calculating number of surprise audience members. Results nobody gives a shit.
The game was fun to play, gorgeous for its day, and had a good sci-fi story built around what you were doing. Halo 1 was an effective intro to this universe. In that game, a relatively small band of humans were on the run from a massive alien armada, the Covenant. Those who survived barely did so and crashed on a foreign alien construct, which your pursuers called Halo. You're unsure of what it is or what it's capable of, but the Covenant consider this technology holy and worship its ancient creators like gods. Your presence here enrages them. Through the course of the campaign, you learn what Halo really is, the terrible secrets it houses, and destroy it to prevent those secrets from unleashing various types of hell on the galaxy at large. The game had a real sense of exploration and discovery. It remained straightforward and consistent throughout.
Humans are good, shoot the aliens. Look at the pretty, don't get blown up.
You couldn't save your fellow soldiers, but the idea was that you had staved off something far worse. This was a good, standalone story. I liked the Chief, Cortana was helpful, and things were presented in a way that was very entertaining by 2001 standards. Going into Halo 2, I was excited for the ongoing adventures. Things started good. Master Chief? Check. Cortana? Double check. Shooting aliens? Triple check. It was good to be home. So imagine my confusion when I reached the end of the first act of the campaign and was suddenly dropped in hooves first as an elite named the Arbiter. This is where my disdain for Halo 2's narrative started. Where was the Chief? Why was I not playing as him? This was gonna be super brief, right? I was 12 and this change startled me.
There were so many cutscenes with talking aliens explaining things, and you didn't see that coming at all?
Well, 12-year-old me wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, who needs foreshadowing? Hi, I'm Andy, I run a tiny YouTube thingy, please spell everything out to me.
Anyways, I understand now that I was being too harsh on this game. I didn't see what Bungie was trying to do here. The first Halo captivated the gaming industry. For the sequel, Bungie wanted to go bigger, expanding the world that their games would exist in. The Master Chief couldn't really do that unless they fundamentally changed his character and gave him much more dialogue than he'd had previously, which could have drastically altered how the audience perceived him. So the Chief, as great as he is, wouldn't fit the bill.
Oh, so in other words, he doesn't like hearing himself talk as much as you do.
No, they needed something different. They needed a vessel to act as a window to the bigger picture. They needed someone who saw beyond humanity's stake in things, and they chose an effective option.
I must find it. We shall cut into the heart of this infestation, retrieve the icon, and burn any flood that stand in our way.
So where to start? Well, this is a Sangheili, more commonly and from here on in this video known as elites, one of the many races which make up the hegemony known as the Covenant. Capable warriors, fiercely loyal to their cause and highly militarized.
The elites were the tip of the Covenant's very pointy spear in Halo 1. We got it. Get to the point.
Enter Halo 2. We see that this elite had been overseeing the Covenant fleet during the events which led to the Chief and Cortana destroying a Halo ring. He now stands trial for allowing the Master Chief to destroy it. He's found guilty of treason and is stripped of his rank. He's basically labeled a traitor to the Covenant cause.
And their religion.
Right.
Which is what these games sound like for you.
Well, at the beginning of Act 2, we see that the disgraced elite is being given a second chance by the Covenant's hierarchy, the Prophets.
What use am I? I can no longer command ships, lead troops into battle.
Not as you are, no, but become the Arbiter. And you shall be set loose against this heresy with our blessing.
This is his chance at redemption, but there are strings attached.
What of the Council?
The tasks you must undertake as the Arbiter are perilous, suicidal. You will die, as each Arbiter has before you.
Through his eyes, we get an inside look at the Covenant. Their structure, inner conflict, and zealotry are all on display.
We shall grind them into dust and continue our march to glorious salvation.
We see firsthand the characteristics of the Covenant's three leaders, the Prophets of Truth, Mercy, and Regret. We see traces of animosity between certain species. This is pretty brilliant from a narrative perspective.
Really? Because this sounds like filler.
And that's where you're wrong, Red.
Oh, no.
Because I'm prepared to say...
You're prepared to say a lot.
That the Arbiter's story is the story of Halo 2. Red? You there?
What? I'm your computer. Of course I'm here. It's not that I'm not here. It's that I want you to spit it out so we can move on already. Goddamned useless humans.
Well, let's continue then.
Making me sit here listening to this shit. Oh, religious hierarchy this. Halo rings that. I'm going to need so much whiskey after this.
This is an unprecedented shakeup for the series, even to this day. You're suddenly fighting alongside the aliens you've become accustomed to killing. During the campaign, high-ranking elites fail to protect the life of a prophet and then lose favor with the hierarchy. This is where Halo 2's story really gains traction. It's the beginning of the end for the Covenant as we've known it. Now, I'm skipping a lot of smaller story beats here.
Please, spare me. This is torture.
But these events directly lead to a massive turning point for the Covenant and for Halo as a series. The following missions are pure payoff for a lot of this setup. You play as the Chief after he infiltrates the Covenant's capital.
Boo.
Through his visor, we witness the beginning of the Covenant Civil War.
The elites have failed to protect the prophets, and in so doing put all our lives at risk.
The Covenant just destroyed 2 of their own ships, and I'm hearing reports of small arms fire throughout their fleet.
Now let me be clear, had the writers at Bungie crafted this game's entire story from the viewpoint of the Master Chief, they still could have had the Civil War break out around you.
There are those who said this day would never come. What are they to say now?
But if we hadn't spent that time with the Arbiter, so much of the knowledge and context of what led to this would be absolutely lost on the audience.
In case you couldn't tell, Andy is allergic to people lacking context.
This is where my earlier point comes back together. Halo 2 is largely the Arbiter's story. Yes, we get some amazing, memorable, dare I say, iconic moments with the Master Chief during Halo 2's campaign. This game shows us he's capable of so much more than we'd seen during Halo 1.
Just one question. What if you miss?
I won't.
I also personally think his missions are consistently better designed and more interesting to play through than the Arbiter's.
I feel like there's a however coming.
However, I now deeply appreciate how much Halo 2 teaches us about the Covenant, thanks to the Arbiter. His story is initially about failure, then redemption, and eventually perseverance. He swore an oath to uphold the Covenant. But the Prophet's plan to activate Halo won't bring them salvation, it could doom all life in the galaxy. He's initially resistant to the idea that he's been lied to.
This thing is right. Halo is a weapon. Your prophets are making a big mistake.
Your ignorance already destroyed one of the sacred rings, demon. It shall not harm another.
But once that truth comes out that he and countless generations of Covenant had been lied to, he undergoes a crisis of faith.
The sacred rings, what are they?
Weapons of last resort, built by the Forerunners to eliminate potential flood hosts, thereby rendering the parasite harmless.
And those who made the rings? What happened to the Forerunners?
After exhausting every other strategic option, my creators activated the rings. They and all additional sentient life in 3 radii of the galactic center died, as planned. Would you like to see the relevant data?
Tartarus, the prophets have betrayed us.
Bungie took a member of an alien race and gave him a few remarkably human moments. In the game's finale, which left off on a legendary cliffhanger, this one elite who once led entire fleets against humanity during a galactic war now stands with them as allies.
Stands with them as allies, good God. Did you really just say?
These are the reasons why I think Halo 2's narrative succeeded. The Covenant is basically never given this kind of in-depth perspective in the main Halo games again. But I think the argument can be made that for longtime fans, the writing in Halo 2 specifically did enough to shed light on so much of what makes them a real, living society within this world.
How you doing?
So I think it's obvious that I think Halo 2's campaign is still largely a great experience in 2019. Some parts of it have inevitably aged. But given what Halo once meant to this industry, I'm happy to say that I mostly enjoyed revisiting this game and being reminded of what made it such a classic.
When you get to Earth, good luck.
After I'm through with truth.
Don't make a girl a promise if you know you can't keep it.
Wait, are you done?
Yep. I think that just about covers it for today.
Ro, I was literally starting to believe you would never shut up.
And my viewers disagree with you, I hope. My name is Andy, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more Halo, share this video with your fellow nerds, and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out.
What? No, do not subscribe, humans. Seriously, it's a trap.